All right. Hoy vamos a echarnos un bocadillo. So, what comes to mind when you hear that? Is it fried chicken wings, carrot sticks, burritos, hot Cheetos, tapas, hors d'oeuvre? Como hemos dicho, for many, a taco is just a taco. Pero it's more than just this portable bocadillo, portable bite rooted in sustentabilidad, cultura, and vulnerability. And of course, it's all hugged in a tortilla. So if you're new here or you haven't checked out the previous episode, I would say do that first because we explored a little bit more about el maíz, how it's a memory and a metaphor for sabor, better yet said, flavor. And to build on that, I want to talk a little bit more about seasoning, el sazón, literally, figuratively. For some, it's even spiritual. So let me break that down a little bit more. Flavor, ¿qué es? What is it? It's what we inherit, ancestral. It's what, is passed down, given to us, kind of, you would say, baked into our cultural DNA. Pero sazón, seasoning, is what we do with el sabor. O sea, think of it like our own remix that conveys our unique identity. So to better illustrate this, vamos a pensar en three simple bocadillos, three simple bites. We go to Catalonia, we have el pan con tomate. Si vamos a México, tenemos a salsa cruda con totopos, no topos, totopos, hecha en molcajete. O si vamos para Italia, we have la bruschetta. Each one of these dishes has different sazones, but they're all rooted in the same ancestral flavor. Reflect on that one as I prepare my chiles.
Hello y welcome to Global Roots Rambles, Spanglish Culture y Comida Sustentable. Soy Dennis Arvizu, your host y charlador de confianza, guiding you through this jornada where we blend sabores, stories, and sustainability. Aquí exploramos how the food choices we make shape our culture, nourish the world, as well as those around us. Ya sea en la cocina o en el estudio, everyone has a seat at the table, así que tomen asiento and let's get this ramble started.
Think about how those go together. And as I layer them on, una tabla to serve on, what am I laying out? What am I putting out? I'm laying out what I would consider an edible map, un almanaque, if you will, that reflects my journey, mi jornada, around across global flavors, seasoned with my personal story, o sea, mi identidad, mi sazón. And sazón is what we do con ese sabor. It's our remix, our take, the way we convey nuestra identidad. Esos tres simple bocadillos, right? El pan con tomate, meaning bread with tomato from Catalonia. Totopos con salsa cruda, hecho en molcajete, this guy, better known as chips and salsa. Y en Italia, estamos hablando de la bruschetta, right? Toast or with tomato and basil. And so, if we look at it in el contexto de ancestral flavor, el sabor, estamos hablando del tomate, garlic, sal, y un poquito de aceite. So those are all the roots to each one of those little bites. And so when I look at a tomato and garlic and molcajete, I think of layering them on a board to serve at the center of the table. After all, they all share the same ancestral roots, but I'm laying them out in such a way that it represents this edible map, un almanaque, if you will, that talks about my jornada, my rambles across global flavors, asazonado con my personal stories or my unique identity. Y como hemos hablado about the tortilla, right, that it represents this century of resistance. These bocadillos, these small bites, represent centuries of remixes, redefinitions, journeys across time. And so, how does this all tie back to the sustentabilidad on your plate? Well, the bigger question de la sustentabilidad, to me, la pregunta más grande cuando es algo sustentable goes back to las raíces. What are we preserving? In other words, what roots are we honoring cuando servimos un plato en la mesa? You know, sustainability is not just about contabilidad de carbono. It's cultural accounting. After all, who gets to decide what's authentic? Who gets to have the final say in what's healthy or what's valuable? Porque, let me tell you, mi pan con tomate, my bruschetta, y mi salsa hecha en molcajete, they're rooted in humble beginnings, and they're all based on sustentabilidad. How so? Well, think about it. You have the humble tomato, some garlic. The salsa made in molcajete starts with garlic paste, pulpa de tomate, right? Make that, crush it in your molcajete, and just season it with a little bit of salt and a hint of olive oil. That's your ancestral roots, right? La bruschetta, dice up the leftover tomato, add a little bit of albahaca, basil, maybe some balsamic vinegar from Modena, and yeah, touch of salt and maybe a little bit more olive oil. And it's all rooted, all of these are served on some fried chips, totopos, some hard bread, fresh bread. In other words, these dishes are all interconnected, even upcycled, rooted in cultural traditions, puro sabor. When I set down my molcajete, right, it becomes the centerpiece de la mesa, the center where everybody comes around. Think of back to the Renaissance days where we had the knights in shining armor, where they would come to the round table. Everybody brought their weapons, religious beliefs, thoughts, stories. Well, this tool, o sea, la herramienta, brings my ancestral culture, mis historias, especias, my Spanglish roots, pero con mi sazón. Sustentabilidad has always been embedded in tradición, simplicity, nada fancy, simple food done right. However, hoy en día, I feel that we have stopped tasting our food and we have stopped preserving it. Y a la vez, cultural roots se están yendo al olvido. And the result of all this, if you think about it, here in 2025, people look for cultural tourism, food experiences. But are they really food experiences? Do they have, are they culturally connected? Or have they been stripped of their global beginnings, the context of it, the context of culture? And now they have just become this meaningless, rootless journey, ramble, detached of any type of origin. So the next time somebody tells you, hey, vente a comer un taco, mi casa, vente a mi jato a comer un bocadillo, it's not just, as we've said, an invitation just to eat. It's an invitation to make memories, retell stories, connect. Hey, to season our daily life con sabor, con sazón. So if you're new again to this Jornada Global Roots Rambles, I encourage you to check out last week's episodes where discussed a little bit about the more interconnection between how una conversación forms a meal and how each ingredient is connected. So what I want to convey is that I'm not here to tell you what to eat, what not to eat. Think of Global Roots Rambles as a way to season curiosity, sazonar, to spark transformation, change, make it actionable, tangible, make it your own. I mean, we need to understand that sabor ties us to our past, to where we come from, nuestra cultura. And sazón defines how we show up today in the present. The question is, how can you take that sazón to keep seeding the roots of the future? So as you go throughout the week and cook your meals for the day, or maybe you don't cook and order out or just serve food, ask yourself, what stories am I serving here with the food that's on the table, with the food that's on my plate? And for, those that live in the US, as we head into 4th of July, donde everybody wants to do their backyard barbecue, esa carne asada en el parque, in the parking lot, se van de camping. I invite you to think of the molcajete at the center of the table, and how it's rooted in my Spanglish culture. But how can it be rooted in yours? Or maybe is there another tool that can represent the same, where it invites flavors from around the world, diverse, inclusive, in other words, served with intention, pero preparado en una manera sustentable. So if you has your next meal, pónganse a pensar, take a minute to reflect, does the plate that is in front of you, meal, does it carry roots, cultura? Or has it been transformed into this latest monocultural phenomenon? Meaning, has its sazon, its seasoning, been sterilized for the garnished filters of social acceptance, anxiety, and, those 60-second spectacles? Let's build more on that next week. Until then, stay rooted, but stay curious. Así que I'll leave you with this. No se les olvide que sazón, it's not a what, it's a who.
With you. Ya sea una palabra, una idea, un sabor, take it with you. Compártelo en tu próxima comida. And subscribe to follow us on your favorite podcast platform, ya sea video or audio. Aquí no se trata de ser perfectos, se trata de ser conscientes y dejar que nuestras decisiones hablen con sabor y propósito. We'll see you on the next ramble.